Good show today.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, dude, 9-9. That doesn't mean no in German. Today is
Double nine.
Double Nine Festival. Yeah,
Mhm.
special day that we chose to record today.
Yeah, Dog Moon, Double Nine.
Uh-huh. And played a little bit today. Like we really focused on breaking down a context first, and then we got into a content. So
Right.
yeah, we're playing with structure. See if you guys like it.
Planning. Yeah, good time for planning. Enjoy the show.
Hey guys, this month's edition of Tea Drunk is brought to you by me. I'm serving my chrysanthemum that I grew right here on this property. It's last year's harvest. We're enjoying it this year. I'm using a porcelain gaiwan. I'm brewing at about 190 degrees Fahrenheit. Just doing flash steeps. And this tea has carried us through the evening. Fortunately, it's not caffeinated, so I won't be up all night tonight after drinking tea so late. That's what we're drinking tonight. Wudang West chrysanthemum tea. Enjoy your show.
Oh snap! We're started. He always starts like when I don't know he's gonna start. All of a sudden it's just on. I'm like, oh, hey, hey. Oh, I didn't see you there.
Smile. You're on candid camera. So, hi everyone. This is the night moon, a transition moon into winter. It's a dog moon of the yang fire variety.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's our chi node? Is it frost descends, winter begins?
Well, winter begins in 9 days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like the overlap this time is frost begins is where we are now, and then winter begins in 9 days, and that takes us pretty much close to the end of the moon. So it's mostly the moon itself is mostly about winter beginning, which is not always the case. Sometimes your ninth moon can be more about getting ready for winter to start, but in this case, it's very much like taking us into winter, not just preparing, but taking us there. So the ninth moon in general is about creating the new status quo, right? That's what we rely on once we're in winter. We need a new status quo. So the ninth moon is about taking us into this new status quo.
And what can we say about dogs? My favorite dog story from Ming. Okay, shout out Ming. My favorite dog story is he would talk about the dog that's in the pound. And it's been in the pound for a long time. And it sees that door in the back of the pound that all the old dogs go through and they don't come back through. You know, the dog's realizing that its time is coming up next. And so now there's fear, right? Doesn't know what's on the other side of that door, assumes it's not good, right? And so in that space, here comes the family. And the little boy goes, Mommy, Daddy, that one. And then all of a sudden, this dog jumps to life. Tail is wagging. Immediately, just my full loyalty, everything. I'm your family. I'll protect you.
I've been waiting for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then just like jumping and yiping the whole home, just so excited to have a family. But he doesn't know that it's an Asian family. That's not their pet dog. That's dinner.
Whoa, that went dark.
And then so he would tell the story about how dogs, unconditional love, unwavering loyalty, and yet loyal to a fault. And because they're so loyal to their master, they will oftentimes fall to their own demise trying to be a good boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Some dangers in that, for sure.
Yeah.
But I remember the concept of loyalty Ming talked about loyalty. His the thing that he shared that really stuck with me was that loyalty is not about the other person. It's not, we always want to qualify our loyalty by saying this is the most famous teacher, or this is like this person's a good person, right? That we want to qualify why we're loyal by their actions, when in fact, like, loyalty isn't about the other person, it's about you. It's about you having that capacity in your heart to be uh, to have that kind of fidelity or dedication. So that's what I think about when I think about it. So yeah, no, maybe that dog's fate is to. That's really the essence of what dog is. Is that,
Dinner.
well, laying down one's body for something,
Wow.
like being willing to to be born with the capacity to give your life for something larger than yourself. That kind of participation in a continuity. It's cherished in almost every human culture. That is cherished. That kind of level of sacrifice for the greater good. Right? So the ninth moon, in part, has that sort of weaved into it.
Speaking of ninth moon,
Yeah.
I just thought about what I'm going to serve you today. Yeah. Ninth moon is the chrysanthemum moon. So I'm going to serve you. This is last year's chrysanthemum harvest.
Little leaf in there, and the side closest to you.
Oh, didn't completely excavate. There we go. These are, I suppose I'll talk about it in our sponsor. Today's sponsor is me.
Chrysanthemum.
These are chrysanthemums that we harvested here last year.
Last year, and you took it off the altar.
Took it off the altar.
Ah.
And so we're going to drink it now. And this chrysanthemum, I don't know the full story, but apparently there's this Chinese medicine farm up in Petaluma area. You may or may not know of it. Okay. But the way that I understand it is that there is a prominent Chinese medicine pioneer here in California that smuggled a whole bunch of medicinal herbs from China and then planted and cultivated them here.
I have heard of this, yes.
And so the farm is up in Petaluma, somewhere in the North Bay. And a number of my students have spent time there, have apprenticed there, have cultivated the herbs. And one of my students, Tiana, shout out Tiana. You remember Tiana, right? She brought clippings of a chrysanthemum and put them up on our medicinal mound. That was our very first year here. And so that was in 2021. And so it took a year or two for it to kind of set. But last year, prolific. This year, prolific. We're getting so many chrysanthemums. And this is specifically Chinese medicine.
So is it from that farm?
It's from that farm.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is heirloom Chinese medicine, granted clipping clone, right? But this is what we're drinking.
Thank you, Tiana.
Yeah, let me see if I can tell that story succinctly during our sponsorship cue. All right. So we have a dog, we have this quality of loyalty. However, fire.
Yeah, enthusiasm. Lots of enthusiasm.
Okay.
And you can expect maybe some misplaced enthusiasm,
Okay.
given it's sort of forgetting where we are,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like so patience is required, to be patient with our situation rather than like overly enthusiastic. Right? Would be advised, considering that we're like right on the cusp of winter, and restraint is what's happening. Right? Restraint is closing in. So our enthusiasm can actually be a detriment to some extent. So it's a little bit like walking a fine line, and so your community, I think, would be a good mitigating factor for that enthusiasm. or to understand where to put one's enthusiasm, or how much, this kind of perhaps going a little bit overboard, um, with our love and affection and affinity.
I've been doing that.
That like, and we can talk about the different earthly branches that might be prone to that, sort of love struck attitude.
You want to get love struck right now?
Yeah.
Did smell that.
Uh, that's really lovely.
Isn't that nice?
So yeah, fire element, earth, dog chi is natively earth. So there's no contraindication elementally because fire generates earth, right? So it's the mother of the native elements. Is this kind of is fire element business? So I don't see it necessarily as so overly self-destructive. That's the next moon with the fire pig. But this moon, it just might be like overextending ourselves, like really wanting to accommodate, really wanting to work on well on the behalf of others, and then potentially depleting oneself. So it is, I think, a really good idea to, know your limits, in this ninth moon. And to be honest, like your limits are gonna find you. Um, that is gonna happen. As winter comes in, this sense of restraint is gonna become non-negotiable, much more prevalent in our experience. So it'd be a good idea to figure that stuff out now. So your ninth moon is a little bit of a mixture of the winter to come as well as the autumn that has been. So there's still a kind of some editing that's happening.
There you go, being romantic again, dude.
It's not romance, it's just nature. So there is this kind of experience of you still may have this capacity for editing, in our experience, in the ninth moon. Because essentially, all throughout autumn, you've been declaring, hopefully, instead of accumulation, you've been declaring what's of value and what you'll keep and what you'll leave, right? So this is all boundary setting, and dog chi is like profoundly good at boundary setting. So there may be some opportunity here for more boundary setting, but you should be making setting those boundaries based on the sense of value that you have developed over the autumn. So it shouldn't be a huge surprise. And if it is a huge surprise, it means you've not been cultivating your autumn. You've just been continuing to push forward until you can't anymore. Yeah. So if you haven't been slowing down, the sort of enthusiasm of the ninth moon will like lead you straight into a wall.
Yeah.
And then you have to make those distinctions of value because you're exhausted and sick, right? So this is a time of year where this is cold and flu season.
Yeah.
As we're doing this transition, because there's most of the illnesses affiliated with this time are sort of imbalances in yin and yang, right? So your fluids get disrupted, and so you get sniffles and it may, if it goes full in, then you're in kind of cold and flu territory. Yeah. Right. So, and that's all due to this pushing yang out to the surface when it should be gathering in, because like trees that drops their leaves, all of nature is descending into its roots.
Almost collapsing in.
Collapse.
Right? More than just gathering.
Yes.
It's like an aggressive.
So the gathering bit is the autumn. Like we're gathering inward because we want all the abundance and we can sort through it, right, and discern what's of value, and then deal with the remainder, right? Once you get to the ninth moon, it's much more non-negotiable, right?
Yeah.
So you do have this kind of collapsing inward. So all of nature is doing this collapsing dance, and it may be pulling the rug out from underneath. So if you're feeling more exhausted, that's because you should be feeling more exhausted. Think of So the each of the moons are sort of analogous. Each of the moons are analogous to the hours of the day,
Yeah.
right? So right now in this moon, it's evening. It's early evening. The hours from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day. That's the chi that's available. So even if it's bright and sunny out, there's a little bit of wind, cold wind happening, because it's taking us toward preparation for rest and sleep. Right? So that's the nature of the chi that's available in this moon, is this kind of like just past twilight. It's not full dark yet, but you know you should be inside.
Wow. It's when here in the Bay we get all those maroons and pinks and purples. And stuff.
Gorgeous. So gorgeous. Yeah, the sunsets are amazing right now.
Nothing like a little pollution.
Right. But you know, get your ass inside. I mean, Chinese tradition isn't particularly fond of sunsets. This is me.
It's me being romantic with you. Okay, so there's a lot of themes here. We have collapsing inwards.
Right.
Uh, we have this kind of rising of yang, but no, it'll come back in and down and in, right? There's Geneva.
I hope so.
All right, for this month's Qigong, we have some themes here. We have themes of gathering. We have themes of Yang's final ascent. We have themes of falling and collapsing down and in. And there's a really simple movement that kind of contains all of those concepts quite well. And what we're going to do, this move it's derived from our Eight Immortal Methods, and it's called Eternal Spring. However, for this month, what I want to do is reverse that movement. And so instead of going up and out, we have this expression of going down and in, right? And so let's go ahead and play with this a few times. Basically, I'm going to take a big breath in, gather, and collapse down. The backs of my hands touch on each other, and I kind of pierce downward towards the earth. And I can repeat that over and over again, find the flow with my breath. And more than just my arms, I want to include my entire body into this expression. And so, sure, I have my hands that go up and down, but notice my feet also, right? When I go down, I sink into my heels. As I open, I'll shift forward towards the balls and the toes. And then I'll sink back down in my heels, which then includes my knees and my tailbone. And then I'll drive back up, engaging my glutes, lifting my chest and chin. And so all these different flavors now become available to this movement. Now, one more idea with this move is that we want to collapse, go down and in, and beyond that, go down and in deeply. So for those of you that have really strong stances, by all means, go ahead and settle into a broader horse stance and, really rise with that gathering quality and then sink and descend, piercing into the ground, right? And then continue again with your breath. This would be our 9th moon fire dog Qigong. Enjoy. Okay, well that was fun. Movement. Dog moon. Transition. Yang fire.
Yeah. Earth element.
Earth element.
So the earth element in the 9th moon, and this is also true of Frost Begins, right? The Chino of Frost Begins, which is within the moon. So Frost Begins is always within the moon. The ones that may or may not be in is the one before, the one after. Right? So sometimes winter doesn't begin until the 10th moon. But in this case, it begins in this moon. but it's always an earth element situation. And that earth element, what does that mean? Earth element isn't a season in itself, but it's the in between moons between the seasons
Yeah.
that guide you from the metal element of the fall to the water element of winter.
So is every third moon of a season an earth element?
That's right. Or rather, the first. Yeah, I mean, you could say it's the first moon of winter, or you could say it's the last moon of autumn. I think both are correct. Right? I tend to emphasize where it's going, right? But in the case of the dog, it's much more subtle. It's not necessarily so dramatic, right? Some transitions, because the earth element does two things when it rises up. It squashes the element that allows it to go. So in this case, it's burying the fire of summer. So the fire of summer is officially buried in the 19th, which then allows for this collapsing business into the water element. It allows the metal element to collapse in the water.
Nice.
Yeah, so like this, and then it also brings damp. But what's interesting about that, like when Earth brings damp, when summer is transitioning to fall, damp heat creates all these crazy conditions. But in this case, it's much more subtle because you're going from dry to cold,
Yes.
right? So you bring in this damp, so dry damp, right? So it just means that sometimes, right, exactly. So sometimes it means it feels you might get this kind of warming business or this kind of subtropical, and then the winds come to sweep that away, right? So there's this kind of I don't want to say confusion, but like it just means that it's not exactly impactful. It's much more subtle in the transition, as compared to some of the other transitional earth moons like Ox, which is all about this kind of gathering, ready to move out.
And that would be winter into spring.
Winter and the spring,
Mhm.
yeah, and that's where you're burying. I think it is you're burying the metal elements in that. Then that means I don't need to edit anymore. I don't need to keep track and like I have to refine and like and conserve. I can actually get ready for these resources to expand again. Yeah. So and then by the time you get to the dragon, then you're burying water. You're burying the water then because it's like okay now it's full on growth.
Is dragon earth?
Dragon is also earth. Yeah. So the dragon, the goat, the dog, and the ox are all earth elements, and they're representative of this so these transitional moons. And Earth itself is obviously the representation of perseverance.
Yeah.
It means that this stuff doesn't end. It just keeps going and going and going.
So then tiger and rabbit are wood. And then horse and snake are fire.
That's right.
And then monkey and rooster are metal. And then rat and pig are water. This is what learning in real time looks like. It may not seem like much to you guys viewing it, but so
It's
many
like settling into
neural
place.
synapses have just gone off.
I go through this all the time.
like,
Yeah. So that's
ah.
how it works. Yeah.
Weren't you just telling me? It's like, you were telling me how you discovered something, and then you
Right.
just telling me how. Oh yeah, that's
That's
Bonzo.
just Bonzo. Yeah. So I'll share this. This is Bonzo. It's not necessarily. I mean, it is part of the Tongshu, and I think that Ming would have taught this.
Yeah.
Had we gotten to that. But it's what's called the lunar hexagrams. So at the beginning of every moon, there's a particular hexagram. Boom. And like it represents this kind of lunar, what they call the lunar cycle, or the tidal cycle. And that's in Baza. And so they each sort of typify the moon itself. So in the case of Connie, like talking about that the hexagram for that moon is 23 in the case of the ninth one, and that will move to hexagram 2. So there's a conversation that's being had between going from 23 to 2. right? During the course of the ninth moon. This is the thing that I went, oh, like I had this like major revelation. But it was all about Baza, which has been out there forever. So I didn't really discover anything. I discovered it in my experience, but it was the math. The math was always there. So it's like I get to celebrate a little bit for me.
That's cool. I like those ideas though of how it was always there. You just didn't have the
It's always
eyes to
there.
see it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, did Benjamin Franklin really discover electricity?
Right.
No, it was always there.
No, yeah.
He discovered how to harness it.
Right. And like, the edifice for relatedness, that's what science, right? What they call it. So the idea behind the ninth moon and what's expected of us in the ninth moon is to comply with restraint. Yeah. That's why everybody in America is like, what?
That's a bad word to
Not
a
interested. No, thank you. And the interesting thing about it being dominated by the fire element, which means you're not even going to listen to me. Your enthusiasm will take you, will overextend you. For good reason. Like it's very much like the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? So that's all the entirety of this ninth moon potentially. If you have selfish motives, it'd be incredibly destructive for you and for everyone.
Can I tell you that I journal about this stuff, and that journal turns into my newsletters, and anytime you quote my newsletter without even knowing, I just feel so
You're like,
affirmed.
yes, what's up?
I get it. It's landing.
Well, I think these synchronicities are all part of the cycle of time. It's like discovering the map that's always there. It's like, well, of course, like if we're all practicing, then we should all kind of be saying the same things. I think that's the interesting thing about, like, I think Ming in a lecture once said, it's April. April says this. We've been around this cycle enough. Like April's here. April says this. And so we do these things in response to April. So it's only in the case where you have a hyper aggressive society and whose the essential assumptions of their cosmology is that A, we don't belong here. B, that all our value is actually all our value comes from a sort of transcendent relationship, not a natural relationship, right? And that all of our virtue is based in morality, being a good person rather than just being natural in the sort of situation that we find ourselves in. It's important to say this because if we want to understand, much less practice, like what we're talking about, like why would we care about the ninth moon? Are we looking for advantage? Is that why we're here? Or are we just trying to have a better relatedness to our own experience and the world around us? We sort of, I remember Ming saying all the time, it's just kind of weird that we're here talking about this, right? Like, I don't know why you're here. Like, why are any of us here to talk about these things? So when we're talking about the ninth moon, and we're sort of engaging with this sense of restraint and compliance with restraint, the way I phrase it is, we've done all this editing. We have a better understanding of what's of value. We may be sorting some of that out still, especially if we're too sporadic and spread out and overextended. So we may be forced back. Right? But that should be a good thing, that like we kind of understand where the boundaries are, and then know how to stay within those boundaries. And I call that, in the ninth moon, establishing a new status quo. That we need to establish this new status quo is very important, because that is sort of the home base and the way in which we actually do and survive, through the winter seasons when it's actually much more of a threat to like let your chi out and try to get stuff, Like think about the Aesop's fables of the ant and the grasshopper, right? So we haven't done what's necessary to secure our safety and survival and longevity. then we're at risk. You know, and that's even if you have like, you know, industrial situation. It's still true. You know,
Yeah.
because if you're trying to put out the energy to match the production of summer, the reality is you're pretending, and you die at 40. You know, like that's the reality. Like you don't live long, and you're caffeinating all the time, and like you're depleting the storehouse is what it's called. You're depleting your storehouse, and that's really the consequences, right? So
Master Wong called that stealing life from tomorrow.
yeah, so this ninth moon is very much where that's at,
Yeah.
you know, because autumn's over, winter's upon us, but we're still pretending.
Yeah.
You know, so that's really where the danger is. But I think that what you're missing out on is actually something even more celebratory, right? Because if you have a you have a yang understanding of success, no problem. I accomplished all these things. Look at all of my toys. You know, like this is very yang understanding of success. But if you don't follow it up with a yin understanding of success, then you're only just chasing after the next thing. You need to have a yin understanding of success. And so that's why we're going away from accomplishment or accumulation toward commemoration in the ninth. We're commemorating our success, and that's yin that basically seals it in.
That almost, I hear that as like what's more successful, a nice bed or a good night's sleep. So it kind of lands in my ears.
So Ming would say, like, if you have nothing to celebrate, you're not human. Like you only accumulating, going for a yang style understanding of success. That's why you're not human, because you haven't stopped to commemorate your accomplishments and to celebrate. And as it turns out, like the really amazing thing about the ninth moon, I used to tell clients when we talk about like character and fate, right? Everybody's all big on the dragon because it is the manifestation of all nature and reality. It's like heaven's footprint in nature is this dragon experience. And the diametric is the lowly dog. You know, you're like, well, what does a dog do? You know, like, and I have to explain to clients, like, it's just as deep. It's just as potent. It just goes in a very different direction. It is the chi behind the statement that you're the long line, you're the live-wriggling end of the long line of dead people. Meaning that there's a huge resource to your very existence that's actually, sort of represented by the dog. So just as the dragon is expansive and created all of nature that you see, so your entire universe, is connected to thousands of other humans. So very important, to honor those things and to understand that your current success as a human being that you're celebrating, it's not just celebrated by you, right? It's actually celebrated by all the people that were there before you and that will come after you, so that your your particular success is a contribution to a legacy. Period.
Show up, shut up, add value.
Yeah.
All right.
So when we're talking about preservation of continuity, that's a very big statement this movie, and that sense of continuity is the very definition of perseverance. I mean, if I got my family behind me, like I can, even if I'm totally busted, like I have resource, I can start over. Like, or if I'm in full bloom success, like this is the time where you make your oaths of recommitment, pledges. Like let's do it again. Like who can we get on board next time? How can we do it better? So it's a very good time for planning and looking ahead to spring.
Yeah.
So it's very active, but it's much more internally active, much more subtle.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, same but different. I remember Ming would always talk about how in this fall transition into winter, we're getting that last little inkling of yang, that final flicker.
Yeah.
And yang doesn't go down without a fight.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So this is the time where we'll see mental illness flare-ups. We'll see manic depressive. We'll see borderlines. We'll see suicides. We'll see.
We just had a wave of that, like as we started the ninth moon, and as we're going toward the full moon,
Yeah.
we're gonna see it again. I think it's really related to summer's the time for demons, winter's the time for ghosts, and so
What's the difference?
um, yang and yin, essentially, is related to fire. Like demons are related to fire.
Where are the angels in that equation?
Well, I'll call the term I'll use is the celestial bodies, like, right? They came already. That's in the fall. They come in the fall, the Jade ladies, for re-inspiring you.
Yeah.
And then they will be back again in the deep winter. Xiang Wangmu is the great mother of the West.
Yeah.
Yeah, she comes in the depths of winter into the ox, and they guide you out. Yeah, and then those angels, as she retreats, some of the Kinis and such, like they stick around in through the spring, right? So we had the Kinis in the autumn, and now as we're going into now is the ancestral time. So that may mean, especially with a fire dog in charge here, longing. Like being very tracking our longings. Especially if they're sort of unsustainable longings or these longings that kind of get us into trouble. These are that's very active right now, and that may be very much related to unsettled ancestors or ghosts.
Okay.
Ghosts can't make a choice. They need you to make a choice. And they need to be present when you make that choice.
Yeah, Christians say Satan doesn't create. Well, speaking of things that could potentially get us in trouble and longing and such, today is special, and
Yes.
we're also dating ourselves right now by letting you know that today is the 9th day of the 9th moon, double nine. Very, very special
That's
holiday.
right. We are the elders.
And
Oh, yeah.
by the time this gets released, it won't be.
Yeah. But we're filming on double nine. You want to talk about Changyang?
Yeah, so 9 is the highest single digit numeral. And so on the 9th day of the 9th moon, it's in effect pure peak yang, right? And it's a very special day. And on this day, it's special to Wudang specifically because it honors Xuanwu, our spiritual patriarch. Today is the day that he ascended, right, according to legend and lore. This is the day that he attained his immortality and rode the dragons up to the heavens. It's also a day that's affiliated with Zhang Senfeng, our martial patriarch. Today is his birthday, according to legend. So two of those pivotal characters in Wudang lore. So 9/9, big day for us.
It's also the magic square. Yeah.
Oh yeah, abracadabra.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a very potent number in general, but it's called the Elders' Day, right? It's like when you're supposed to not supposed to give elders chrysanthemum, but you're supposed to drink chrysanthemum tea or have chrysanthemum wine,
Or have wine as a chrysanthemum chaser.
Bajo. And like go for walks, like call your elders, and that's not just double nine, like the 9th moon is a great time to spend time with your elders, because they are the living embodiment of the continuity that you're contributing to, right? So it's this recognition of it's an expression of fealty, a loyalty, like the fundamental loyalty of your life, that that someone gave birth to you, and someone brought you here. Whether you wanted to come or not, like someone brought you here. So because that's the case, and that is the fundamental continuity of our life as human beings, and that's what Double Nine is to celebrate. So, yeah.
Chinese do that too, right? Pour out all the liquor for the homies.
All the time.
For the homies.
On the pig too. I like
Yeah,
it.
got to. Um, Neither here nor there. I remember being in college and freshman year, I was living in the dorms and I was in Honolulu, Hawaii, and there was a car of a bunch of my friends driving up to the North Shore, and they got into an accident, and 3 of the 4 passengers tragically died, and it was a big thing for our freshman class, and we all drove up there and paid homage, right? And the way that I chose to was I brought a 40 ounce of alcohol, poured out my old English, and I remember there was this one girl, she was like, "How rude! That's not how you honor the dead." Oh, and she got so upset with me.
How did she honor the dead?
She made a prayer, she
Oh,
did that thing. Here I am pouring out. But for whatever reason, that thought just came to mind when you
yeah.
poured it on my.
Should I go? Well, I mean, it's interesting on that particular point when I think about some of what Lauga would say. Like, you should do what they expected. So if you knew them in a certain way, and you drink OE together, then you pour out the OE. Yeah. So it's to honor the dead is not complicated, unless they were very complicated.
For those of you that missed that jargon, OE is Old English. It's a very specific type of malt liquor.
Yeah.
Often comes in either a 22-ounce can or a 40-ounce bottle.
Yeah.
Just to give you a little bit of
Not
context.
that I've had any.
Many of you don't recognize Shannon as gangster, but
No.
there will be signs. And here's one of them. Watch him take this 40% alcohol with a straight face. No, this is like 45. This is 45, 50%.
Yeah, as long as the content is small, I'll be all right.
So this is some medicinal. Let me see. I can't read. 5, 10. Red Star. Let's see. This is 50%, 56%. Sorry. So it's 112.
Again, it's content.
99.
Yeah.
99. I'm gonna make a short of this. Have our faces back.
Yeah, so we're about to drink paint thinner.
What would Ming do?
He wouldn't be drinking
He
Baijiu.
wouldn't be drinking.
He would not be drinking Baijiu. I mean, he's our elder. He's our teacher, so we're commemorating him in memory and carrying on his on.
Pouring out liquor on the pig. Ming was pig, right? Yeah.
Ming was definitely a pig.
Yeah, so he's
Yeah. What were we?
Ming this time of year, I think preparation for winter retreat. I think he's probably wrapping up courses, right? Probably rearranging his apartment or having his minions
Having
do it.
everybody push things around.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I see Ming doing. I also imagine Ming probably cooking and preparing dishes that take days.
Yeah.
That's what I would
Yeah. Lots of planning, right? Because we can at this point, in the 9th moon, we can look ahead. Spring is only 4 months away.
It's true.
Yeah. So, looking ahead and planning and that kind of in the spirit of recommitment, I think there would be a lot of support for, well, what are we going to do with this 4th seer? Let's not let it sneak up on us.
that's coming up a lot. A lot of my
Yeah.
peers are talking about New Year.
Yeah.
What are we up to?
Right. So like, it could be one of those like have that conversation and like think about spring. It pays off. Let's put it that way. Especially when you get to spring. You don't want to necessarily be planning for spring once you reach it. I think, but this is only possible if you stop. This is only possible if you actually stop and commemorate, your year and celebrate, then you can be like, then you have something to reflect on. Then you have some authenticity that you can grasp, in yourself. Like, I didn't like that. You can actually be real, and it's that being real. I think that's real compliance. That's really what compliance is. It's just being real with your situation. You're like, I really suffered this year with X, Y, or Z, and or I really like this, and I'm really hopeful for that. What can I do so I don't face this again? There's kind of big general questions that that help sponsor a premonition. When you start, what they say, living the question, right? When you start living the question through the darker moons of winter, you start living the question. You shouldn't go inert. You should definitely sleep and rest and dream. But if you start living the question through this period of time, then you have some responsibility. You have some capacity for a response to happen, and it's not just all the unresolved ancestors that are knocking at your door for Halloween, which is happening. Like they're coming up, but it's also all the supportive ancestors that can come to you in your dreams and actually give you information.
Nice.
And you can start developing this sense of a premonition about your experience.
Here's premonitions.
Here's the premonition.
Not so bad.
It's all right.
Excuse me.
I had this incredible story. I won't share the entire details of it. It's far too embarrassing. But I was in. We had a shout out to Sasha Matuzak, who knows the story. He was there. He got equally blitzed out drunk with me because it was like we were one of 4 students studying with Di Kong in Hanyuan outside of Chengdu, about 8-hour bus ride. And Di Kong is grandmaster of the school. And because we're there, it's like we need to have like dinner with all the homies and all these gangsters come down. Rabbit hot brains and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And there's lots of gumbe, like lots of drinking.
Back up.
And because we were on the edge, like we weren't safe. So I was sitting next to Chinese National. He's sitting next. We were getting cup after cup after cup.
Oh, especially being foreigners.
Oh, we got hammered.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, I got hauled, carried out.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Many times in China,
The humility.
drinking with the you get like military officials, you get government officials, you get all these people that come and they have rank, and so you have to drink with them. And if you make the mistake of letting them know that you can consume some alcohol,
Yeah.
you have to like not take a drop from the start. That I'm allergic, definitely
Yes.
allergic, right?
I learned that phrase after.
Because if you just let in one sip, floodgates.
Yeah.
And then you have to give everybody face. If you say yes to one person, you have to say yes to everybody. And when I was in college, in my social fraternity, I learned that if it's your birthday, eat a loaf of bread before you go out and give yourself periodic bathroom breaks to pull the trigger and excavate. That way you can still make it through. And had I not learned that in college, I'd eat a thick ass thing of manto, the steamed buns, and periodically through the night, I'd say, "Excuse me," I could pull the trigger, excavate, come back, eat, drink water, and then I could hang with all the officials. And they'd be blitzed.
And you're like, no.
Right? And they'd be like, "Wow, good kung fu, good kung fu." I'm like, no, no, no. Experience.
So now you know how to deal with that.
Yeah. Save yourself many a hangover in
It
China.
was just terrible. It was so embarrassing. Hi, so we're going to talk about the trines, and we're going to talk about the trines in the context of the ninth moon, in the need to domesticate ourselves to a new status quo. Like, who does well with that, who does not do well with that. In the first case, we're going to be talking about the domestics. Domestics, following is second nature for the domestics. So this moon, in general, they all do very well. And the general keyword for both the pig, the goat, and the rabbit is to shelter in relationship, and embrace the status quo. In the case of rabbits, your powers of persuasion are greatly accentuated this moon. And this can be great. You're motivated by a desire for safety and security. So it's understandable that you would use these powers to your advantage, but don't ruin your reputation. Consider the needs of others in your sort of calculation, and be patient. Cultivate tact. In the case of goats, you are very much encouraged to play peacemaker this moon. Diplomacy may be needed, and when it isn't always needed this moon, so you shouldn't try to cause a problem or to solve it. But if there is a problem, they're going to need someone to kind of facilitate an arbitration, and goats would be really good at that this moon. But try not to be too argumentative. If you are, you may lose support. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good here. You may abandon something that you actually need. In the case of pigs, pigs tend to do well when they're not under pressure. And then the ninth moon, it's about to relax. It's good to relax and settle into a new status quo. And this will actually bode well for you next moon. So it's really about kind of settling into routine. Remember, you're still in a snake year. So this is a sidewinding year for pigs. You might be tempted to kind of come out of your shell from time to time, but in a snake year, that might not go the way you expected. So a little bit of open mouth, insert foot may be involved, like, TMI. So be patient. Reluctance is still a good idea. Be generous and stay close to familiar friends. All right, so in the case of the fixed trine involves the oxen, the snake, and the rooster. We're talking about that in the context of ninth moon, the dog moon, where we're trying to embrace a new status quo. So the oxen are pillars of strength in the community, but the weight of some of these routines may start to add up. So this is the ninth moon. You're starting to feel the sort of the weight of the extenuated obligations that you have. So if you haven't already, you need to start politely shrugging people off your back. The auspices for you in this ninth moon will all greatly depend on the kind of people that you have around to encourage you. Good friends that don't take advantage of your strength, but then encourage you to kind of scale back and come in closer to your real family, like your family. This is a good time for you to retreat into the boundaries of family. If you have people that care about you, you should listen to them. In the case of the snakes, it's a little bit of a mixed bag because for the next two moons, so get used to a little bit of a mixed bag if you're a snake. Because it's going to feel like this moon that there's way too many people up in your business. It kind of makes your skin crawl to have people be very curious about what's happening with you. So be selective with your attention and don't overcommit. Roosters, in the case of roosters, it's also a little bit of a mixed bag. It kind of depends on how, if they are still aggressively calculating. Because remember in the conversation we mentioned that the ninth moon still has a kind of autumnal energy to it. So there might be some continuing on with the refinements or transformations that the rooster or extractions that the rooster is kind of interested in naturally. So they may be kind of keeping track of the details and like maybe having some anxiety about resources and resource allocation. So it's important for roosters to have support, like the ox. The ox needs support to kind of scale back their obligations, and roosters need to be reminded that their community can handle any problems that come up. All right, so in the case of the active trine, which includes dogs, tigers, and horses, we're tracking their capacity to conform to the new status quo that the ninth moon is inviting everybody to participate in. In the case of dogs, being in your own moon, overall, it's pretty favorable. Your talents, your interpersonal talents, are generally well received. So it's a good time for you to be helping. The only issue for you is timing. Don't try too hard. You don't need to do too much. Just being open-hearted, supportive, and generous presence is enough. You mean well, and you generally want the best. But it could, you need to avoid overreach. The road to hell is paved with good intention, kind of thing. You may overextend yourself. So similar to the ox, it's good to kind of recognize your limitations and know when kind of enough is enough, right? In the case of the tiger, so similar to the pig, tigers do well under stress. But like related to the pig. Pigs don't do well under stress, but the tigers like stress. But again, both cases, this is a sidewinding year. So you might be sort of liking the pressure, but it may not go the way you expect. So plan on your escape. Look ahead to spring and think about the ways in which the new things that you might want to invest in when the spring comes for the horse year. This is your year, so it's a good time for planning, and otherwise just be selective with your intention. I say just wiggle your butt, but don't pounce. In the case of the horse, yes, it's a good time to scale back, but you should also keep the home fires burning. You also want to plan, like the tiger, because spring is only 4 months away. So planning is a good idea. Connect with all the members of your team and secure commitments where you can for people who are going to be involved in the projects that you want to go forward with. So it's a little bit of like networking, would be a really good idea for you this moon. But don't overreact or try to act on anything too soon. Um, yeah, that's it. Okay, so here we're talking about the adaption trine and that involves the rat, the monkey, and the dragon. And this is a time of restraint and constriction. So adaption here is going to be, in the case of the rat, is going to do very well because now that they have a storehouse to work with, after the autumn, now you have a storehouse to conserve and preserve. So the rats are very interested in this dialogue. So they're going to be carefully measuring their outputs from now on. But don't worry about squandering too much. Like, it might be a good motivator for you, but it's not necessarily something to get caught up in. Just try to relax and just kind of keep track of what your outflows are and your inputs are. So spend some time with your sort of personal clique. That could be very, very rewarding. Helping is a really good look for you. Monkeys. So monkeys aren't necessarily unfamiliar with sort of the dynamics of like tribal orientation, but juggling some of these things can feel relentless. That I saw relentless interpersonal demands, they're high this moon. So put your attention to organizing your resources very well. and making plans. Have contingencies on your contingencies. I'd say, like, yeah, pack and repack your bug out bag. Yeah. It's good to like have a very good assessment. It's favorable to have a very good assessment of the resources at your disposal. Um, and but put your attention more toward home spaces more than anybody. Like the monkey really benefits from having a secure home space during this move. Dragons. So dragons, the story on dragons is that during these early days of winter, the dragons will travel to the alpine lakes and have some fun. They'll go to the beach. But unfortunately, when the cold seeps in, then they get locked in those lakes for the entirety of the winter. So dragons are right at their hibernation stage in the ninth moon. So as a reflection of sort of heaven's footprint on nature, these sort of dynamic changes are receding from the environment. So you are too. So your effectiveness is going to be limited. So it's a good idea to kind of slow down and don't feel obliged to share or take care of anyone.
So what would Ming do? We did it hexagram. Yeah, hey, shout out Connie.
These are really interesting. I mean, obviously, the title hexagram is 23. If you're following along with the Bazi, and that has to do with what we have been speaking of. Is it like having the rug ripped out from under you? Because as nature is kind of collapsing into its roots, if we're still pushing out and allowing yang to escape instead of being safely stored within, then it's. I think one of the ways I described it, it's like trying to run on. On a on a driveway that has frost on it.
I could hear the sound effect.
Yeah, it's all bad. It could be really disastrous. So that's the idea behind 23 is like letting go of your fanatical ambitions, like you're still carrying ambitions all the way from late summer. The other two that I would recommend are 8 and 32, and those speak very specifically to as recommended by Liu Dao, like the material that being left behind. It speaks to this kind of recommitment quality. Not only to alliance, 8 is alliance, so that we need people, we need other people, we need our community for everybody to survive through the winter. But also 32 represents this sense of continuity and the constancy, the sort of durability that comes with that. So you're like supporting routine, yeah, in the ninth moon is like that's what's durable. We're not going off on tangents. They're sort of half baked, not sure, maybe it'll work, because you can't really afford that kind of energy, to be. It might be something that is relieving in the summer. Right? You're relieving excess energy by doing these sort of tangent things and going out dancing or whatever, these physical activities or just kind of pursuing possibilities. But when you get to, the ninth, 10th moon, it's now way more dangerous to do that. And even if you succeed, this is the interesting thing about it, even if you're strong, say very strong, and you succeed in doing what you're doing, uh, you can't hang on to the benefit. That's the most important thing because the time has passed. You can't hang on to the benefit. You weren't able to harvest it. So the timing's off. So inevitably it'll fall apart. So that's what 32 is basically saying. No, stay with what you have, because what you have is really good. So stop chasing. It'll be the dog chasing the car down the street.
All right, Instagram. Questions. We have a question from one of our viewers.
Okay.
John out in Sac. He asked about how autumn is considered a metal quality, and through the 5 elements, metal is often interchangeable with air. And air, an ethereal gas, versus metal, which is hard and solid, how can we reconcile that those two are actually quite similar within the scope of our five element cycle?
Um,
I have an answer for it.
yeah, please.
Okay, and so uh, in the what we call natural view of water's on the bottom of our picture, I climb out of the ocean onto the land, so earth. Then I climb up into the trees, so then wood. And then above the trees is the air and clouds, so air. And high in the sky is the sun, so fire.
Okay.
And so by looking at my natural worldview, I have my elements, right? And that actually translates to a conflicting cycle. Because water on the bottom conflicts with earth. Earth conflicts with wood. Wood conflicts with metal. Metal conflicts with fire. Fire conflicts back with water.
Sure.
Right. So that's actually just the conflicting cycle when we look at the natural landscape.
Okay.
Right. And so metal is interchangeable with air. What's up with that? Metal is hard and solid. Air is ethereal and gaseous. Like, how are they the same? And where they are similar is in their capacity to generate water. Right? Because air, how does air make water? Compress, condense into clouds, and then the water drops down from it. Metal, how does metal generate water? Actually, a number of ways. I can take my metal shovel and dig for a well, dig down into a well. I can take my metal and leave it out overnight, and it would gather condensation and dew that would then drip off. And so both air and metal, though distinct in their elemental properties, they both generate water in a similar fashion. Right? And then metal, air being the mother of water in that cycle. Did I just over explain that?
I think that's perfect.
What I think I would need to know more about what he's referencing to answer the question, mostly because I don't necessarily see air as synonymous with metal. I see it as an expression of a different system and maybe tracking the same process in a different way, but depending on the cosmology that involves, because if we're talking about the Greeks, like ether kind of thing, it's very different than metal.
Very true.
Is because it's a very different cosmological framework. Metal, in the case of Chinese framework, and again, like, there is no. We're talking about Liao Dao. Right? This should be clear. Like, I'm not speaking for the whole of the Chinese tradition. We're speaking Liao Dao. The ways and the traditions that Liu Ming left behind, right? So there's been a lot of different understandings of the five elements. So many different schools about what metal is or isn't, or what earth is or isn't. But the way I understand it through the tradition that's been passed on is that metal being this sort of is a refinement process, right? So it is a distillation, and then think about what happens when you study all martial arts. I studied 20 different martial arts, and now I just know how to punch. Like, it becomes so you go out the other end. That's the idea behind the metal element, is that you refine your process until it's only just standing. I just know how to stand. I've forgotten all the other stuff. And then it sort of completes the cycle back from complexity to simplicity, and that is where water.
That's very affirming to me, because I kick my own butt for when I forget stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I much prefer the conversation of, oh no, I'm just alchemizing.
You're
for
just
fire."
going to water.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all.
Perfectly
Anybody's
clear.
going to water. You know,
Yeah.
it's like we're all just going to water. Ultimately, that's what it's. You know, that's the recognition in the journey in the ninth moon.
Yeah.
Is to recognize, oh, this all just goes to water. You know, like it all ends. And there's people who've ended before us that are waiting, you know, for us to show up, so we can begin the whole cycle over again. But the ninth moon is this kind of like a recognition that we're all going to water, and so that's why it's so good to be generous, you know. And
There
that's
he is being romantic again, guys.
it's just nature. But then we're going into the 10th moon, which is this like pig moon, where it just becomes ultra generous, where all the boundaries sort of break open, and then you know you're inviting homeless people off the street, Thanksgiving dinner, you know, like because like that's because you can, you know, and then you think about all the people who are losing SNAP benefits, and you know, like you want to like do everything you possibly can, you know, to alleviate suffering in the world. This is where the pig steps in, where those boundaries sort of evaporate in the recognition of water. That water comes for us all. Yeah, you give me Baijiu more often.
Well, maybe not, because here you are talking about homeless people.
Yeah, here I go.
And then here I am thinking about this joke. And I can't even hear your thought because I'm like, oh yeah, that was a funny
Well,
joke.
I mean,
Well,
you figured.
Let me tell you the joke.
Yeah.
So there's a comic, and he was saying that the homeless people in Texas are getting stronger and stronger. And he's like, you figure they're intermittent fasting, they're getting vitamin D, they're doing cold plunges in the lake.
Okay.
They're literally doing everything that Joe Rogan says to do.
Who said this?
This
Is it a
comedian named Ari Mahdi.
Oh.
These homeless people, they just get stronger and
They're
stronger.
following the protocol. Yeah. Well, you got to figure that, like, you know, if you're gonna give us alcohol, you're gonna get something a little different. Just a little bit different.
Well, I also remember last month, I can't tell you how many times this showed up for me, is you said something to the point of monkeys. You know, everyone else has lost their sense of humor or something like that.
Yeah.
What was that?
You heard, well, in the Rooster Moon, that monkeys are here to like remind everybody that they have sense of humor.
Oh, dude, there have been many times during Last Moon where I just foot in mouth. No one gets my joke.
You're like,
Well, okay.
oh,
Great show.
did we want to talk about the
Oh, rocks! Yeah, you brought rocks.
Topaz?
Hmm.
Topaz is your, if anybody, you know,
What do we want to call this segment, first off?
ask me when I'm not on Baijiu.
The name of this sentence, the segment. Ask me when I'm not drunk.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it was brought forward that, you know, maybe we'll see if this sticks. Let's put it that way. That should be the name of this segment. We'll see if this sticks. This may or may not stick,
Yeah.
but like we've been kind of bringing out minerals to help with the negotiating the seasons, and then like so in autumn it was quartz to help cultivate clarity, and in this particular moon, this transitional moon, I chose topaz. Topaz is associated with the dog chi in particular, and topaz, I highly recommend looking it up. Topaz, for the purpose of this conversation, is to stay with that sort of embodiment energy, like sort of protective energy that has to do with the kinds of the solidity of our commitment, right? So we are recognizing our contribution to a legacy, and we're able to stay with that. And topaz is so it's protective and stabilizing in that regard, and it's also encouraging that kind of success when we are contributing to something larger than our own, personal desires. So it does have this kind of expansive quality to it that has been described as divine or celestial in some way or another. But it's really how you program it with a lot of stones in particular. So if you have like an endeavor that you're pursuing, that something you're really trying to commit to uh, and contribute to, like topaz has actually been a pretty strong ally for me, just because I am in this path. Yeah. So it's like calling on this kind of orientation and support to kind of keep you uh, uh, aligned.
Mm.
Yeah. So topaz,
What's up with this other stuff?
very famous. Oh, these are both topaz.
Oh, they're both topaz.
They're both topaz. So
Oh.
this one has a is much clearer and has almost kind of a pseudo blue sheen, whereas this one has is much darker.
Huh.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Wow. Now, if I may, and pardon my ignorance, I get that this is a topaz stone, but from my undiscerned eye, I wouldn't be able to tell this from quartz.
Yeah, it's all in the shape.
Okay.
It really is all in the shape. Quartz won't come in this shape. They have this kind of five-sided, I think it's five-sided, sort of rectangular
Yeah.
tendencies, whereas quartz comes typically in six sides, and it comes to
Okay.
kind of a point,
Yeah.
right? So their structure is really
There you go.
is their form, as with a lot of most minerals, like the people are very good with like fluorite, for instance. Well, that's fluorite. How do you discern fluorite from calcite? Like, like it is really in the form, because they mostly, and to some extent color, but it's mostly form.
Mm.
Shape.
And one more question, just because I'm fascinated and you know more than I do about this stuff. Can a stone transform? Can it start as one stone and then
Go into another stone?
or like become another stone?
Yeah, I mean maybe under pressure.
Tiny
Yeah,
pressure.
yeah, like it would, but most likely no. I think what I would say is that because oftentimes they come in pairs, like you'll see, like a tourmaline with a quartz, like they have over there, right? Like they grow together. So they may have some elements in common, but most likely what would needs to happen is that this topaz would need to fully dissolve and then come up with something else.
Okay.
So minerals are different in the sense
Yeah.
that they have some malleability to them. This is very metal elements.
Okay.
Right. But they're relatively fixated,
Yeah.
in what they are. So you won't see a topaz turning into a quartz.
Like maturing or evolving into. Got it. Okay.
It is its fullest expression.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I've kind of been on this theme, like it's that time of year, so I'm making pozole.
Oh.
And I'm learning that a jalapeno pepper is fresh, whereas a chipotle pepper, exact same pepper, just dry.
Right.
And so it came up earlier in a conversation of we were drinking fresh chrysanthemum versus dry chrysanthemum. The medicinal property of a dry ginger versus a fresh ginger. And then so I guess in seeing this stone and in my view looking so close to quartz, and I know that stones have an evolutionary trajectory.
True.
It thought like it seemed a good question to ask. Like, is a young stone of this versus an older stone as it becomes that? But,
well, I have experiences of like this is the topaz that I've had the longest, and when I first got it, it was very different color. So over time in my interaction with it, it has changed its hue.
Yeah.
Right. In some exposure to the sun, but like it's mostly about like me using it all the time.
Yes.
So I do have personal experience of like, no, your stones respond to you, but my quartz doesn't stop being quartz.
Okay.
Yeah. So it still changes, and like there'll be a day where this will be held by someone else, and like then that relationship will again change what's available, right? So
Okay.
it's all in the interaction.
Right on. Yeah. I guess it kind of makes me think of, in the conversation of evolution, it makes me think of carbon or coal, time, heat, pressure, diamond, right? And so it actually transforms, right? But you're saying once it's a crystal form, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question because I've never heard of like, oh, a topaz then, morphs into this stone.
Mhm.
There are many there are many other forms and factors of different, because it's a tree of relatedness based on what's found in its silica with this response, or what has different baseline elements that have like different expressions. So you might be able to trace it back before it goes out. Be like, well, in an atmosphere of like high pressure sodium, you'll
Yeah.
get these kinds of minerals, and that's why they appear together. So you have that kind of relatedness, but like once they cross a certain threshold and start making patterns because it is in the form, then they go that route.
Bird.
Yeah.
Thank you for entertaining. How you enjoying this chrysanthemum, dog? It's still going.
It's still good. It's still very good. It's very nice. I actually feel like it helped balance out the Baijiu quite a lot. Actually, it's very helpful. And I'm not sweating so much
Yeah, no Baijiu burps.
with all the heat. Yeah. So that's a good thing that I'm gonna have to remember. Like if I do have Baijiu in China, bring some chrysanthemum tea.
Usually, most restaurants have it on staff. Just ask for it. All right. Well, great show.
Yeah.
It was fun.
As usual.
As usual, right? I want to see that more of that cocky side.
Wait till next moon, boy.
Pig, full force.
Yeah. Full fire pig. Wow.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Great show.
Yeah.